What's up, everyone? What is happening? Welcome back. Okay, so Psychology Today, which is a magazine that is one of the popular magazines in the social sciences, has recently, about 2 days ago, put out an article about cisgendered individuals like myself not wanting to date trans people. They use some language saying things like dehumanizing and stuff like that. Like if me not wanting to date a woman with a penis is somehow degrading the trans community somehow, or members of the trans community, because I'm not into dudes who look like women. I'm a straight guy. I like biological women. Most biological men do. Most biological women like, straight biological men. This is natural. This is how our world works. That's why we have children. It's always been like this since the dawn of time for humans. We've been on Earth, about roughly 250,000 years now, give or take. I mean, it shouldn't come as a shock that most people want to date a heterosexual individual. This article is nothing more than a hit piece on straight people. It's just there to try to promote the ideology, more propaganda. It is complete nonsense is what this is. And the author of this paper holds a PhD. Obviously, this is not an individual that understands how reality works. Before I get into that, I just want to say I made a video the other day. I was talking about the New York Times situation where the guy, Caleb Kane, became radicalized after watching YouTube videos or something. And I mentioned Milton Friedman, and I said he died in the 90s. I was wrong. He died 2006. So that was just a mess up on my part. I'm not perfect. I'm human, and I still have a lot to learn. So now I'm going to get into the article. Before I do, please like, comment, share, subscribe, hit the bell, and help me grow my channel. Here is the article from Psychology Today. Let me just click over. Okay, it was written by Karen L. Blair, PhD, inclusive insight. You can look at the picture of her in the little box with the short haircut. You can imagine what side she's on. Are trans people excluded from the world of dating? New research explores the extent to which trans people are excluded from dating. They're not excluded from dating. It's just most people who are heterosexual don't want to date them because we are not sexually attracted to them. It's human nature. It's very, very simple. Imagine for a moment that you were to find yourself looking for a new partner at some point in the near future. Perhaps you would turn to a popular dating app and begin filling out your dating profile in hopes of finding the one. In the process of doing so, you'll likely be asked to indicate your gender and the genders of others that you would be interested in dating. Under these hypothetical circumstances, which of the following would you consider as a potential dating partner? Click all that applies. A cisgendered woman, a cisgendered man, a transgendered woman, a transgendered man, a person with a non-binary gender identification. Recently, my colleagues and I asked this question of just under 1,000 participants, and we published our findings in the Journal of Social and Personal Relationships. Our results indicated that 87.5% of the participants who were asked this question only checked off the cisgendered options and excluded transgender and non-binary individuals from their hypothetical dating pool. Of course, because that 87.5% of the people are cisgendered people and they are interested in dating someone who's similar to them, at least, in being cisgendered. So I would date a cisgendered woman, a biological woman, and the women want to date a cisgendered man, a biological man. This is called reality. This is called mankind. This is humans. We are the larger portion of the population throughout the world. Transgenderism, I believe, the last studies I saw, it was less than 0.5%, if I read it correctly. They are still considered a fringe group when you look at how many, the number-wise, percentage-wise. So, no, you shouldn't see, this shouldn't be surprising in any way, shape, or form. Relationships are one of the most important sources of social support indeed. Our relationships play an important role in our overall mental and physical well-being, and our relationships are better are a better predictor of how long we'll live than smoking or obesity. But if very few people are willing to date trans people, what does this mean for the health and well-being? If trans and non-binary people lack access to one of the most stable sources of support, of social support, this could explain some of the existing health disparities within trans communities. Now, I don't know if it's a better predictor than, relationships, if that's a better predictor than smoking or obesity. I don't know what the numbers look like. This PhD who wrote this, I don't know if she calls herself he or she, they or them, ze or zer. I don't know what her gender pronoun is, but then I just said her, so I guess I just assumed it, but I'm just going to call her because it's a her. I don't know if this is just her opinion or if she actually, did the math behind this. Did she look at statistics? She didn't print any of the statistics about smoking and obesity and being in a relationship, who's more at risk. I just don't know if this is accurate or if it's just propaganda she's throwing out there. In addition to simply looking at the overall percentages of how many people included or excluded trans persons from the hypothetical dating pool, we also examine the demographics of those who were inclusive. For example, while only a very small minority of cisgendered heterosexual individuals, 3.1%, were willing to date a trans person, a much greater percentage of individuals who identified as bisexual or queer provided inclusive responses, 55%. One reason for this may be that individuals with queer or bisexual orientations are already looking beyond gender in many ways when selecting a person to date. Probably because they are part of the LGBTQ R2D2C3PO community, and they have no problems dating another member of that community, regardless of what the person identifies with or what they were born as. So yeah, that's seems pretty fair to me. I mean, it's easy to assume that they would be more inclusive. The word that I hate saying inclusive. That's their buzzword. That's what they love to throw out there. I'm not very inclusive. Because I only want to date a biological woman, therefore, that word shouldn't apply to me when I say I want to date a cisgendered biological woman. To say that I'm not inclusive, it's not the right fit because most of us aren't. We want to date who we want to date. Look, I most likely would have a hard time finding a woman who's 6 feet tall to date me, considering I'm very short, and there won't be many, inclusive 6 foot tall women who are willing to date me. I understand completely. There's a height difference. We look funny in public. One of us or both of us are going to be self-conscious about this. I get it, right? There's no need to call her and say that she's not inclusive because she won't date me. I understand. It's normal. So this whole inclusive nonsense they love to throw out there is just a buzzword. Okay, looking more closely at the patterns of responses. It also became clear that individuals were least likely to express an interest in dating trans women, even if their sexual identity were otherwise indicate an interest in women, i.e. straight men, lesbian women, or queer bisexual individuals. Indeed, nearly 20% fewer people indicated an interest in trans women than would have been expected based on the sexual identities of the individuals within the sample. The published study did not ask participants for the reason behind their response. Of course you didn't, because you didn't want to hear them tell you that it is perfectly normal and natural for me to want to date a woman who's a biological cisgendered woman. That's how we make babies. That's the author of this article is the product of a cisgendered man and a cisgendered woman, I'm pretty sure. Now, if they magically switch their gender somehow, I don't know. But I'm willing to bet that her parents are cisgendered, they're heterosexual, they married each other, and they had her. That makes up most of the world. So, of course, you don't want to know that one. That's the one you want to sweep under the rug and instead just chalk all this up to bigotry on our part. To continue that sentence, so future research is needed in order to understand more about what leads to inclusive or exclusive. Probably nature. right? It's probably nature that leads to inclusion or exclusion, right? And naturally, I would want to, or most of us at least, would want to date a heterosexual, cisgendered, biological male or female. Pretty simple. That it's nature. For example, some may only want to date people whom they can procreate with. Others may not fully understand what a trans identity means or entails within a dating relationship, and some may simply hold negative views towards the transgender community. Yeah, I mean that's a given. Overall, it would appear that the most important step moving forward in terms of increasing the dating prospects for transgender non-binary individuals is improving general knowledge and understanding concerning the diversity of gender identities and what each identity means. We don't know what they mean. We don't know what each identity means because each identity will mean something different to each person who chooses that identity. You see, male and female is very simple. Now, we all have different personalities. That's a given. But you have male, you have female, and we know what the two look like. We know what the characteristics of a male and a female are in general. We can point them out of a lineup. If we put a bunch of people up in a police lineup and you told me pull the men out, pull the women out, I'll know how to do that, right? If we go out in public and you want me to identify people based on male or female, that's easy because there's something tangible there. There's a physical property behind being a male or a female. There's no tangible physical property behind all the other gender identities. They are literally made up. You cannot point them out of a lineup. You cannot give me a physical description between what is a they or them or ze or zer. What characteristics do they have? What's the physique of them? On average, are they, X amount of height, tall, short, fat, skinny? What are any of the characteristics in general of these people? And you can't give it because it means something different to each person who chooses that. So, it's nonsense. Like, to understand, the diversity of gender identities, like you can't really understand it completely. All you can understand is that each person, who lives this lifestyle chooses an identity, and they literally can make up what that identity entails. Okay, furthermore, increasing accurate media representation of trans and non-binary people, as well as finding ways to increase contact, may also be promising, as other researchers has found that contact with and additional knowledge about transgender individuals can effectively reduce trans prejudice. Now, here's the thing. They get more than enough media attention. You cannot go. I mean, I can't. This is Pride Month. So my whole life revolves around the LGBTQ community at the moment. There's flags everywhere. I can't get away from it. Every time I look at my phone, I go online. Every time I pick my head up, I see a flag. It's everywhere. We all know about it. You have more than enough representation. You don't need any more. You've been shoving it down our throat all month now about this. Really what's happening is that they're pushing it on us so hard that, it's been said that, those who have the youth have the future, and they've been pumping this to the youth for so long that when the youth grow up, they're completely comfortable with this, and the transgendered community will grow. The LGBT, all that stuff will grow with more and more people getting older and older and older. That's what they're doing. They're pumping it out there. They're pushing more, and they're just getting more of them out there by capturing the youth. That's what the whole drag queen story hour thing is. I did a few videos on that. I protested in Garrison Beach, and now I'm getting ready to help with a protest in Crown Heights, Brooklyn, June 27th, about that, to stop that from happening. I mean, we're not stopping it from happening. We're just voicing our opinion, to be honest with you. But here it says, can effectively reduce trans prejudice. What trans prejudice are you talking about? Me not wanting to date a trans person? I'm just not sexually attracted to a non-biological female. That's all it is. There's nothing else to it. It's very, very, very simple. I want a biological woman. That's that. Okay. Ultimately, each individual has the freedom to decide whom they date or are interested in dating. Thank you very much for that one. And thus, our research does not attempt to make any statements concerning whom an individual should date or consider dating. No, but in the language, you do kind of allude to the fact that we are, humanizing these people, or we're bigots or prejudiced. And the words that you use, you kind of allude to the fact that we are, we're not inclusive and we're not all those buzzwords that you want us to be for that group of people. So yes, you are kind of putting pressure on us by writing stuff like this. In this same paragraph, it goes on about the sociologists. They liken that to interracial dating. I don't know how you can make the link between the two. Historically speaking, black people had a very rough time in this country, even in later years when civil rights was given, and then we started having interracial dating. People who did date outside their race had a very hard time. There was some cases of people who interracial couples who married and were arrested, had to move out of the state, and they would, a very, very rough time for them as well. I don't see the connection between trans people, their oppression, and the historical oppression of black people in this country. They're not even close, not even in a dream. This whole article is just another way to pump the narrative for these social justice warriors and for the trans issue and this postmodernist era that we live in. And that's all this is. This is ridiculous. This is anti-reality. This is anti-common sense. There's no reason for this article. It is to promote a certain narrative from a certain side. That's all this article is. Very poor article, to be honest with you. It don't seem like there was a lot of research that went into this. It seems like she just sat down, she thought, she asked a few questions to a few people, and then she wrote this article. It probably didn't take her very long to do so. I wish I could have spoken to her and I could have explained to her, some of the reasons why a cisgendered, straight heterosexual man like myself would not date a dude in a dress. It's just very simple. I want to date a woman, a biological woman, and most biological women want to date a biological man. It's nature. This is what we do. This is how we have children, family. This is because of us. You have gay people. Because of us, you have trans people. Like, you need us in order to have them. Now, I know with science, you don't need that anymore. You could just go to the sperm bank and get an injection and walk out pregnant, and that's what they're planning on doing. I'm pretty sure once they get rid of all the straight people, right? I sound like a conspiracy nut. But everything is in the fringe until it becomes mainstream. And we've been warning about stuff like this for a long time. This was all stuff that was fringe, and it's not fringe anymore. It is mainstream, and they are making their move and trying to grow bigger and bigger and bigger and bigger. And I do believe it's definitely a slippery slope. So you guys think about it. Maybe read the article yourself. Tell me how you feel. Once again, please like, comment, share, subscribe, and I will see you on the next video.